If you're anything like me, you probably have thought, man, they really ruined the Hulk in the MCU. Which, I'm 100% on board with. Now, I've heard rumors that the reason the Hulk had such a poorly executed arc is, multiple reasons. One is that they had to ask permission to use the Incredible Hulk every time they used him. Now, I have no idea if that's true or not. I don't know where the rights stand with the Incredible Hulk, but if it was an iffy location, it would be better for them to just not use the Incredible Hulk than try to work around him and his characters. Now, the Hulk is a very integral part of the Avengers, so that's perhaps why they kept him around and made him into Smart Hulk, so he wasn't the Incredible Hulk. But all that to say, if you're looking for a better adaptation of the Hulk, look no further than the animated universe they did a while back. Airing in 2013, it ran for 2 seasons. Hulk and the Agents of S.M.A.S.H. Starring a group of characters. Here are the ones that appeared in the first episode because I went back and rewatched it just for this. We've got Rick Jones, voiced by Seth Green. He becomes A-Bomb. Thaddeus Ross, voiced by Clancy Brown. He is also known as the Red Hulk. The Hulk himself is voiced by Fred Tatasciore. Pretty sure I pronounced that name wrong. And lastly, we've got Scar, voiced by Benjamin Diskin. Now to go over the show a little bit. For one, it's pretty funny. I like from what I remember, it was really funny. Large group of characters. Eventually, they add She-Hulk and a T-Rex they get later that joins the team, kind of as like their mascot pet kind of deal. Now, S.M.A.S.H. stands for the Supreme Military Agency Superhumans. That's the group there. They're all Hulks for the most part. I mean, they are all Hulks actually. And the series kind of is focused on Hulk villains. So you've got the Absorbing Man, you've got the Leader as the main villain. Annihilus shows up at the very beginning as the first arc, kind of setting up the characters and such. Of course, at some point, Betty Ross shows up. Thaddeus is Ross's daughter, granddaughter, one of the two. But let's get into reasons why you should watch this. For starters, it's got great animation. The art style is wonderful. It kind of has the same art style as a lot of the stuff that was coming out on the Disney Channel at the time, which is, pretty decent looking. It blends CGI and 2D animation pretty flawlessly, at least in the first couple episodes. It was hard to tell if you're like just watching it normally. If you're looking for CGI, you might see it if you know what you're looking for. But other than that, it was really hard to tell. It's pretty much just 2D animation all the way through. And I think the reason the 2D animation looks so decent is because they take a lot of shortcuts. Like this show is kind of done like part comic book style and part like a Webo series kind of. So at times there'll be shots that are just stills broken up into like three separate stills of an action scene. Other times they'll do like a full action scene. And for the Webo series portion, it's kind of like their way of allowing the characters to break the fourth wall. They're talking to an audience. They're not talking to us, but they're talking to the audience of their world, letting them know who they are and how they function and things like that. It's a great series. Totally recommend. Everything I've watched so far, very entertaining. As I said, it is part of this universe of shows that they wanted to do for Marvel. Just a bunch of animated TV shows that are connected. There's 2 Spider-Man series that are a part of this universe. The show called Avengers Assemble, also part of this, and then Avengers Assemble leads into another Avengers kind of thing that has a very similar animation style to this one. Not to mention, unlike in the MCU, it really handles the blend of Hulk and comedy correctly. Like, yeah, Hulk in general in the comics is a pretty serious character, but he's also, not all there sometimes. He's treated like a child sometimes. Um, there was a few stories that were pretty decent that were around that. The Immortal Hulk being the first one that comes to mind, where it was kind of like a childlike wonder within the Hulk. Now, in this show, they do handle a little bit of the origins kind of differently, like with Scar not being the son of the Hulk, and but I think that's their right to get a little bit of creative freedom. And I honestly don't know how the MCU handles these things so poorly. Like, I feel like these shows are what really laid the groundwork for a good series, good like plot line, and a good way to handle like adding comedy to make it more entertaining while also keeping the characters themselves. You know, um, yeah, the Hulk will do some silly things, but things that are more visual gags and things like that. He's not like going, "Ooh, stinky, that smells bad," or "Look at me, I'm like the Hulk." No, he's not like a clown. He'll make jokes that fit his character, and they also really lean into the fact that the Hulk is strongest there is. If a fight lasts long enough, he'll keep becoming stronger and stronger. And they show that throughout multiples of the series where the Hulk shows up. And I really wish they just kept that with the MCU. The MCU really, really fumbled the ball on the Hulk. And I hope that the universe gets reset um, next year during the Secret Wars event, and we get new actors for the Hulk. Because part of the reason the Hulk turned out the way he did in the MCU is because Mark Ruffalo was either not having fun with the character or wanted to put his own spin on the character. A lot of the actors kind of felt that, being put into long contracts, they didn't have any freedom over their character. And the directors were like, yeah, well, if you want to keep playing these characters, what do you want us to do about it? And these actors were like, let's make them fun to play. I don't want to be some boring, stuck up guy who I have to force an accent all day, you know, like with Thor. And the Hulk, they didn't want the Hulk to be this rampaging monster who's kind of an idiot. I mean, they did kind of make him an idiot in Thor Ragnarok. Like, that was a poor handling of that character. And the fact that, he doesn't become stronger as he gets angrier, like that should have just been a thing. They kind of just were like, he's this strong. That's pretty much it. And he does seem to really get weaker throughout the MCU. Well, on Smash, he stays pretty consistent, unless he's getting angrier, and then he just gets stronger, which is, like his superpower. I can't remember if they do the radiation glowing thing with him, where he can start producing radiation from his body, but they don't need to. They've got in this the Red Hulk, when I'm pretty sure it happens in the comics too. Whenever he gets angrier, he gets hotter, like physically heats up, like he's beginning to melt down like a reactor core or something. A-Bomb has a special ability. He's got a couple of special abilities actually. He's not some pushover Hulk. He can roll up into a ball and he can turn invisible. So he's like the Miles Morales of the team, except not ethnic even slightly. All I have to say, if you love the Hulk, give this show a check out. They really treat the Hulk correctly, and they don't ruin his character in this show. At least in my opinion. I really liked what they did with it, even though it was kind of um, leaning into the comedy at times. It did not ruin him like they did in the MCU. But I don't know. And with the Century coming up, allegedly, they didn't show the Century, but if the Sentry is going to be in this next movie, it makes me worried what they're going to do with him, because the Sentry was one of my favorite characters in the comics. He's got a very unique story. He also battles with like the multiple personalities thing that the Hulk and Banner go through, except the Hulk and Banner are more like a literal two personalities, where the Sentry and the Void are kind of different people. Well, they are different people in the sense that it's a separate personality from um the Sentry, but the Void and the Sentry, they are like two sides of the same coin. The Void is as powerful as the Sentry is, but it's as if there are no restraints on the Sentry when he becomes the Void. I'm very worried about what they're gonna do with that character, because they've done nothing but ruin characters that people love recently. They had the Butcher, and that wasn't handled as well because his thing was a whole massive arc. And they kind of boiled him down to one movie. Early MCU stuff, Loki was in multiple stuff before he was the main villain for the Avengers. Thanos had this huge long setup, and they're like, oh, let's bring in these big villains, but let's not do them justice. Let's just make it funny and short and simple. Maybe we'll tug on the heartstrings a little bit, but Yeah, so anyway, check this show out. I love it. You'll love it. Let me know what you think down below. Don't forget to subscribe.